Hello and welcome to Dear Jordan. This is a space where I slow down and put words to the things life teaches us quietly. The lessons that don't come with warnings or instructions, but shape us all the same. Each letter is written from a place of reflection, not perfection, not certainty, just honesty. The kind that comes after you've lived long enough to recognize patterns, make sense of them, and carry the lessons forward with intention. I want to share something briefly about how these letters exist from week to week. They're meant to live outside of time. I don't speak on current events. I don't live life on a macro level. I live it on a micro one. As a mom, there's pressure coming from every direction. The amount may change depending on how many kids you're raising, but the pressure is always there. So I focus narrowly, intentionally, just to get through the day, even if, quote unquote, getting through is the only achievement I manage. This space is meant to be a pause, a break from the noise, reassurance for a parent who feels the weight of responsibility and healing all at once, or a moment for a daughter who needs to hear what life is really like, without the filters the world insists on using. Today's letter touches on something we all encounter in one way or another. How our understanding of love evolves over time. How what we think love is can look very different from what it actually turns out to be. How our experiences shape our expectations, and sometimes our blind spots. This isn't a story meant to give answers or to tell anyone what to do. It's simply a moment of reflection, shared from one heart to another. So take a breath, get comfortable, and grab yourself a cup of coffee and listen in. Dear Jordan, I hope this letter finds you well. I was sitting with my coffee, trying to figure out which lesson to share with you next, and I kept coming back to love. Love follows you through every stage of life. It shows up in different forms, and sometimes it disguises itself as something it's not. Learning what love actually is and what it isn't will save you more than you realize. I want to talk about love, how we find it, how we lose it, how we misinterpret it, and how it somehow becomes one of the loudest forces shaping who we are, even when we swear we're not participating in the conversation. Jordan, let me be honest with you. I knew absolutely nothing about love. Nothing. Okay, maybe one thing. The only kind of love I understood with any confidence was the love of Jesus. And even that felt safer at a distance. Not because it wasn't real, but because I never quite felt worthy of it. When you're young, that kind of love feels surreal. It didn't come with conditions or confusion. It didn't leave me questioning my worth or wondering what I had done wrong, and it didn't resemble any of the human love I was exposed to. Human love felt different, riskier, messier, and that's not pessimism, it's realism. People are imperfect, and expecting perfection from them is a setup for disappointment. My definition of love came from watching it play out very poorly right in front of me. Once you understand that, you'll understand why I kept my distance. It felt smarter that way. For a long time, I watched the love my parents had for each other, and it was about as undesirable as love can be. Constant arguments, abandonments, forced reconciliations, followed by resentment that never really left. That was the one version of love I saw close up. Then there was the other version, the fairy tale, movie kind of love. I believe the story movies love to tell, that love just finds you, that one day you're minding your business and suddenly someone locks eyes with you and the world slows down like a dramatic scene meant to change everything. In The Godfather, which you're far too young to watch right now, and trust me, it's definitely not a fairy tale, love is described as a thunderbolt. It strikes you, and you're never able to recover from it. And in that story, the thunderbolt ends tragically. That's how powerful love is portrayed to be. But when the love you've known looks more like anger, jealousy, heartbreak, and chaos, love doesn't feel magical. It feels dangerous, unstable, like something better admired from a distance. So needless to say, early in my life, I didn't want to be found by love. Those two definitions, dysfunction and fantasy, collided in my head and caused their own kind of collateral damage. I avoided love the way sane people avoid wasp nest. Minimal eye contact, no unnecessary conversations, and a permanent stank face. I was doing everything I could to send a clear message. I had absolutely no interest in relationships. And yet, somehow, there were still brave warriors willing to enter my emotional battlefield, which honestly confused the crap out of me. Every now and then, I'd accidentally revert to my normal, delightful self, depending on your definition of delightful. And for a Bronx girl, I considered myself pretty delightful. Unfortunately, the moment someone showed interest, I'd swing and hit that interest straight out of the park with sarcasm. Sarcasm became my shield. Sharp, efficient, reliable. Psychologically speaking, avoidance can look like confidence, but it's often protection. The brain learns early what feels unsafe and builds defenses to prevent pain before it ever has a chance to arrive. And for a while, it worked. My adolescence passed quietly. No dramatic confessions, no messy entanglements, no teenage heartbreaks. I thought I was doing it right. Then adulthood showed up, and I doubled down. Even my brother noticed. We were sitting at the mall where we both worked, killing time during our lunch breaks. I made a comment about finding someone attractive and said he should do what any good brother would do. Be a proper wingman and make my interests known. He looked at me and said, "You want a boyfriend?" I said, "Seriously?" Like he was implying something else entirely. He paused and said, "No, not like that. You don't act like someone who wants a boyfriend. You don't play hard to get. You play, oh hell no." And he was right. The truth was, I had avoided love for so long that I didn't know how to recognize it, let alone engage with it in a healthy way. So I put love on the shelf and let it collect dust. Then life interrupted my strategy. My brother died. And when unconditional love disappears, something inside you shifts. The world doesn't stop, but it changes shape. And suddenly, the very thing I had spent years avoiding no longer felt dangerous. It all felt necessary. From a psychological standpoint, grief rewires the brain. Loss creates a vacuum, and the brain seeks connection to restore balance. From a spiritual standpoint, Scripture tells us that it is not good for man to be alone. Love and connection are not weaknesses. They are a part of how we are designed. But I didn't enter love wisely. I entered confused. I ignored red flags because dysfunction felt familiar. I confused intensity with passion, inconsistency with mystery, emotional exhaustion with effort. And that confusion was reinforced chemically. When attention floods the brain, dopamine, oxytocin, adrenaline, it feels like love. But those chemicals don't mean safety. They mean stimulation. Love bombing feels intoxicating because it hijacks the nervous system. And when affection becomes leverage, love turns into control. I tried to love my way out of it, adopting a what would Jesus do approach. But even Jesus walked away from people who refused the truth. I was never meant to die on the cross of someone else's dysfunction. God saved me because sacrificial love without wisdom leads to self-erasure, not holiness. You cannot love your way out of abuse. You can love deeply, forgive endlessly, extend grace, but none of that guarantees the other person understands love. That's not your failure. That's discernment. I lived my life a certain way, and I feel compelled to share it with you so you don't have to live the same one. Maybe if I'd been allowed to make smaller mistakes earlier, the kind most people make when they're young, I would have recognized the warning signs sooner. Maybe I would have known the difference between attention and affection before it carried so much weight. When you don't have early opportunities to safely explore connection, your brain doesn't learn discernment gradually. It learns it under pressure later. But I didn't. So I learned the hard way, the slow way, the painful way. And while I grew from it deeply, it's not a path I would ever wish on you. Jordan, I want you to experience love without trauma being the teacher. Trauma is a loud instructor, but it is not a wise one. Scripture tells us that wisdom is gentle, peaceable, and willing to yield, not overwhelming, destabilizing, or coercive. I want your heartbreaks to stretch you, not shatter you. I want you to build resilience without having to rebuild yourself from the ground up. I want you to know the difference between red flags and red lighting, between attention and affection, between desire and devotion, between someone who wants you and someone who honors you. Because attention activates the brain's reward system, but devotion requires character. Affection can be given freely. Honor has to be sustained. Love that comes from God is not confusing. God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. When love consistently leaves you anxious, dysregulated, or doubting yourself, something is off. You never have to earn love by shrinking yourself. You never have to prove your worth through suffering. You never have to make yourself smaller to make someone else feel whole. Healthy love doesn't arrive like a storm. It doesn't confuse you. It doesn't keep you guessing. Healthy love is steady, not boring, steady. The nervous system relaxes in steady love. It doesn't stay on high alert. It doesn't brace for impact. Steady love allows your body to rest, your mind to think clearly, and your spirit to breathe. It shows up on your good days and on your messy ones. It feels safe. It feels clear. It feels like you can finally exhale. A good partner won't make you solve puzzles just to feel secure. They won't disappear and reappear like a badly written character. They won't make you question your worth. They will value your peace because they value you. Scripture tells us that love is patient and kind, not destabilizing or self-seeking. Love that constantly costs you your peace is asking for something God never intended you to give. And Jordan, I hope you fall in love in ways that make you laugh, not question yourself. I hope your heartbreaks teach you, not haunt you. And I hope you always choose love that feels like safety, not survival. So date to your heart's content. And when I say date, I don't mean give yourself to anyone who shows you attention. I mean meet people, learn people, be curious, but move slowly, be intentional, whether it's love, attraction, or curiosity, take your time with it. The brain needs time to separate chemistry from character, intensity from integrity. As you grow, these emotions can feel confusing. That's normal. Feelings are powerful, but they are not truth tellers on their own. What matters is giving yourself the space to understand them before they lead you somewhere you're not ready to go. Learning discernment early can save you from pain that takes far longer to heal than it ever should. Because when you don't take that time, you often end up learning the hard way. I avoided everything when I was younger, only to experience it all later, at once. I didn't ease into life. I collided with it. I found myself facing the same confusion and heartbreak I had only tried to avoid, only now with higher stakes and deeper consequences. I was grown and still learning lessons I could have learned much earlier. And being a grown woman while still feeling naive and unprepared is a hard place to be. The brain doesn't care how old you are. It responds based on what it's been taught. If it never learned safety and love, it will search for familiarity instead. I wouldn't wish that on you. Today I can say I'm a better person because of what I've been through, but I also know how much unnecessary pain came with those lessons. I wish I had learned something sooner. I wish I had known myself better before life forced the issue. There were moments when I thought something was wrong with me, that I was behind, that I was broken, that I had missed something everyone else seemed to understand. But growth doesn't follow a timeline. Scripture reminds us that there is a season for everything. Learning late doesn't mean learning wrong. What matters is that I learned. I learned who I am. I learned what I deserve. I learned what I will and will not tolerate. And most importantly, I learned that loving yourself isn't a destination. It's a practice. One that requires boundaries, self-trust, and the courage to walk away from what harms you. I'm still learning. I always will be, and that's okay. Today I can say I'm in a healthy relationship with myself. I know my worth, I trust my instincts, I respect my boundaries, and I don't rush what's meant to grow. I want that for you too. I want you to move through life with curiosity, not fear, with courage, not urgency, with openness, not desperation. I want you to love boldly, but wisely, to take chances without losing yourself, to experience life fully without letting it break you. So go ahead and live, fall in love, make mistakes, learn from them. Just don't rush yourself into places your spirit hasn't caught up to yet. And remember this, you don't need to be perfect to be worthy. You don't need to rush love to prove anything. And you never have to abandon yourself to be chosen. With all the love I am still learning how to give, your mom. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Dear Jordan. These letters began during a time when I was still healing, still learning, and still figuring out how to turn my own experiences into something my daughter could one day grow from. Now, they continue from a place of clarity, from a heart that understands its story instead of just surviving it. Healing doesn't erase the past, it gives it meaning. Over the years, the work I did on myself didn't just shape me as a mother. It taught me how to help others move forward in healthier, more grounded ways, with compassion, discernment, and honesty. And now that's part of what I do. I offer support, guidance, and perspective to anyone who's ready to build something stronger out of their experiences. Not reliving the past, but by learning from it. If anything in this letter resonated with you or helped you reflect on your own journey, I'm grateful. These words are written for my daughter, but they're also for anyone searching for a little more clarity, a little more intention, and a lot more self-trust. Until the next letter, take care of yourself, take your growth seriously, and keep stepping toward the life you deserve. This has been Dear Jordan, Letters to My Daughter.